In the busy city of Aba, there lived a young man named Chukwuma. Chukwuma was a very handsome and charming man. He was tall and well built, the type no young girl would easily say no to. His deep voice and broad chest made many turn to look twice. Yet, behind the captivating looks was a character that baffled many. Chukwuma was a commercial driver. His vehicle stood out not for its roughness or noise, but for its cleanliness, sweet-smelling air freshener, and a fully functional air conditioner. It should have been the first choice of every traveler in the city, but that was not the case. Anyone who entered his vehicle would quickly rush out like they have seen a ghost. Some would even abandon their journey just to avoid him. It's not the car, it was Chukwuma. His reputation was louder than his horn. Everyone in the park and around Aba knew him for one thing: his callousness and disrespect, especially towards women. He never allowed women sit in the front seat with him. In fact, he made sure not to interact with any woman at all. If a woman dared speak while he was driving, whether it was to greet, ask a question, or even warn him of danger, Chukwuma would explode in anger. The more they talked, the more reckless he became behind the wheel. People wondered what kind of demon possessed him. Some believed he had been jilted in love. Others said he must have lived with a witch. But no one really knew what made him bitter. One day, during one of his usual trips, Chukwuma's vehicle broke down in a lonely stretch of highway. True to his nature, he didn't bother calling a mechanic or checking on his stranded passengers. When they pleaded with him to refund part of their fare so they could find alternative transport, he flatly refused, insisting that everyone would wait until he fixed the vehicle himself. Those who had enough money eventually found other means and left, but the rest had no choice but to remain. And as night fell, Chukwuma finally managed to get the vehicle running, and they continued their journey in silence and frustration. Complaints about Chukwuma kept piling up at the park manager's office. Passengers grumbled about his temper, his recklessness, and his complete lack of empathy. The manager issued several warnings and even suspended him once, but rather than improve, Chukwuma only grew worse. He became confrontational, picking fights with anyone who dared challenge him, including law enforcement. Then came the day everything unraveled. After a heated argument with two policemen over a traffic violation, Chukwuma snapped. Right there in the middle of the road, he stripped off all his clothes and lunged at them like a wild beast. Onlookers fell in shock and disbelief, abandoning him as the officers wrestled him to the ground and hurled him up away like a lunatic. 3 days he spent in the police custody. No one came for him, not a friend, not a family member, not even a fellow driver. On the third day, a police officer who had seen his case from the beginning stood at the cell door and asked him, "Can you see how irrelevant you are? Even to your family. Do you even have a family? Why hasn't anyone come for you?" Chukwuma said nothing. He sat still, staring blankly at the wall. No one could tell what was running through his mind, if anything at all. It was as if something inside of him had finally snapped, leaving only an empty shell behind. When he was finally released, he returned to the park like a ghost emerging from the grave. His steps were slow, his face unreadable. In his absence, another driver had been assigned to his vehicle, and for the first time in a long while, the passengers experienced peace. Laughter returned to the bus. Some even whispered prayers asking that Chukwuma would never come back. As Chukwuma returned, the air around the park shifted. The brief spill of peace dissolved in an instant. Passengers once seated quietly in the vehicle froze the moment he stepped in. His presence settled like a dark cloud, familiar, heavy, and wholly unwelcome. A woman hissed loudly, not bothering to mark her disgust. If I had known this madman was back, I would have waited for the next bus. I would rather arrive late than not arrive at all. Another woman shot him a furious glance with such intensity, it was as if eyes could pierce flesh. Without a word, she grabbed her bag and climbed down. A few others followed her lead, but many stayed, not out of trust or respect, but simply because they had no other choice. Their eyes avoided his, their bodies tensed. Just before the journey began, Chukwuma cast a cold, sweeping glance over the passengers. His face was stern, unreadable. Without a word, he slammed the door and took off at full speed, driving like a man with nothing to lose. Not long into the trip, an infirm old woman seated behind him reached out and tapped the back of his seat. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. "Driver, please slow down. If you want to get down now. I don't have your time," Chukwuma snapped, cutting her off without turning his head. The bus went silent. Fear settled over the passengers like a thick blanket, each one holding their breath as the vehicle tore down the road. The old woman sighed, then begged to be dropped. She pleaded for part of her money back, but Chukwuma refused. When she grabbed his shirt in frustration and shouted, "Is this how you treat your wife at home?" the air turned tense. Before long, a few men stepped in. Chukwuma wasn't ready to listen. They gave him the beating of his life and walked away without a word. Everyone left him to his fate and went on their way. Bleeding and humiliated, he drove back to the park in silence. That incident broke something in Chukwuma. He sat alone in the vehicle for hours. Thoughts flooded in his mind. How did I become like this? When did I turn into a man so hated, so feared? I wasn't always like this, he whispered to himself, tears streaming down his cheek. I used to be cheerful. I used to laugh. But look at me now, hated by everyone, even the old and helpless. He drove out of the park and disappeared for weeks. No one saw him. No one missed him. The park moved on. Drivers laughed louder. Passengers smiled more. Everyone was happier than ever. 5 years later, one beautiful Sunday morning, I was heading to visit loved ones. I boarded a bus and waited as others joined. 2 women in front of me were discussing. "This bus looks like Chukwuma's own," one said. "God forbid. If it's him, I would collect my money back. That man is cursed." I was confused. I turned to the old woman beside me and asked, "Mama, was he that bad?" Before the bus filled, my ears were already filled of stories. I quickly prayed for safe journey. Just then, a man approached the vehicle, carrying a cake, a big ice cream bowl, and colorful children gifts. He was smiling. "Ah, it's him," someone shouted. "See how he's smiling like a good person. Wicked man." But something was different. In the front seat, a woman and her daughter were already seated. Chukwuma politely said, "Please help me hold this cake." And the little girl helped. Her mother eyed him suspiciously. 3 poles from the park, he stopped to buy fuel. A lady beside me whispered, "He's acting calm now, but let's wait. He will soon show himself." But Chukwuma returned, started the vehicle, and continued driving gently. He tried to make a small conversation, but no one responded. Then he said something that made everyone turn. "You see, this life is nothing. Nothing there inside am. If you die without knowing God, that's the worst thing ever." People were stunned. Silence spread through the vehicle like a wave. The old woman narrowed her eyes and asked, "So you know, eh? You know?" He smiled. "Yes, nah. If I die today, I know where I'm going." The passengers chuckled, unsure whether to take him seriously. But Chukwuma went on, his voice calm. "I was once a bitter man. Everyone hated me because of a bad wife." "A bad wife?" the passengers echoed, almost in unison. And then he began to tell his story. "My mother raised me after my father died," Chukwuma began, his voice low. "She did everything for me, sacrificed a lot, but she failed in one thing, teaching me about women. All she ever told me was, if I touch a girl, she would get pregnant. That was it. I so grew up afraid of women. I never had female friends. I didn't understand them. I avoided them totally. I started hustling young. From that hustle, I made it to the university. Life was tough, but I pushed through. Then my mom started disturbing me to marry. But how? I didn't even know how to talk to a woman. One day, I met a girl from my mom's church. She looked so innocent. I told her I wanted to marry her, and just like that, she agreed. The day I took her to my village, I caught something in her eyes through the rearview mirror. A look, sharp, cold, unreadable. But it was too late. I was already hooked. We got married, and for 21 years, I lived like a stranger in my own house. I would drop money for food, come back hungry, and sleep empty. I slept in this vehicle more than I did in that house. Maybe the 6 times I did sleep inside was when she gave me our 6 daughters. The passengers burst into laughter. One of them grabbed 6 girls. Yes, 6. She turned me into a broken man. Used up my money for fashion. See her at any occasion and you would think she's a governor's wife. But me, I slept under the rain. On the bonnet of this very car, I was dying slowly. I never had peace. I went out angry, came back angrier. I was losing my mind. I almost took my own life. One passenger shook his head. Chai, so sorry, sir. Chukwuma smiled faintly. When my friend died, same story. He stormed out, angry, just to buy food, crashed and never came back. That was my wake-up call. I knew I had to leave, and when I did, the healing began. He paused, looked at the road and continued. Then I met someone else. We dated, and I saw what I needed in a woman, but she gave me strict conditions. I agreed to it. We married, and for 5 years now, I have known peace. She cooks and waits till I come back. I never knew a woman could cook and wait for her husband to eat with her. I never knew that as tired I might be when back from work, that I can still relax late at night discussing with my wife. Wow. Things I thought impossible is now very possible with the right woman. We could speak on phone even more than 10 times during the day and still meet in the house at night. I never knew marriage could be this sweet. Everyone laughed. But thank God you saw all of this alive, I said. Yes, so, my dear, he replied and continued. She's my gift. He lifted his foot flags. See my lunch. Every day she packs it. I don't eat outside anymore. A young man clapped. No wonder you allowed that woman sit in the front with her child. Yes, Chukwuma said, smiling. I'm a changed man now. Don't let bitterness destroy you. Bad relationship can turn you, a good man, into a beast. Before I knew it, we had reached my stop. Please, please, sir, I'm dropping here, I shouted. As I came down, I looked at Chukwuma one last time. The man who was once a terror had become a preacher of peace. And so, I say to you, dear friends, don't judge anyone by who they are now. We don't know what they have been through. Just go ahead and give this story a thumbs up. Share your thoughts about this story in the comment section. And please subscribe for more real life tales and interesting stories. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss what next. Also share this story to your people around you. You could save a soul. Always believe that even the worst person can change. Until we meet again, stay inspired, stay hopeful, and keep following the stories that speak to your soul. Bye.